Welcome to tonight's edition of Hopcat Presents Local Spins Live at River City Studios. I'm John Sinkovich with LocalSpins.com, the website that covers West Michigan's music scene. And we're very happy tonight because we have one of Michigan's hottest bands in the studio. Not only were they tagged by Billboard magazine as one of its 7 favorite breakout acts at South by Southwest, which is a major music conference in Austin, Texas earlier this year, but they've really been getting attention from one end of the country to the other. And they've been recording their upcoming new album in New York with none other than noted producer Stuart Lerman and much respected singer-songwriter Marshall Crenshaw, who also happens to be from Michigan. This is the 5th installment of Local Spins Live at River City, a series that showcases some of the region's most talented and emerging acts. And I'd once again like to thank Roy and Austin from River City Studios and the River City Studios video team, as well as Hopcat and everyone else who's helped make this show possible. You'll be able to listen to the entire podcast and watch the video from this event later this month at localspins.com. Let's get started. I want to introduce you to Savannah Beist, Katie Larson, and Michael Doss, otherwise known as the Accidentals. 19 and 20 years old. It's pretty amazing. For those who might not know, tell the audience how this band got its start, because the seeds were really sown at Interlochen Center for the Arts, where 2 of you were students.
Yeah, Savannah and I, we met when I was a sophomore and she was a junior at our public high school up in Traverse City. And we went to Traverse City West Senior High. We were in the orchestra program together. We were in a quartet together. We lived down the street from each other, and we didn't even know who the other person was until we got thrown together for an orchestra assignment. And I went to her house for a rehearsal, and we were supposed to be representing our school's alternative styles club for the strings. And so that's where we, got together and played Led Zeppelin songs in our, cello and violin respectively. And Savannah and I, the day we met for our rehearsal, it was magic right there and then.
Started playing the White Stripes instead, and that was how we got our start.
There you go.
Oh yeah, we've been punk for a long time. But yeah, it was a really accidental start that we got together, and actually an accidental in music theory, seeing as, we're all really big theory nerds. All of us are really into music and recording technology. An accidental in music theory is a note that doesn't really belong in the key signature, but it makes it sound interesting anyway. And that's kind of how we've evolved, incorporating any genres that we can.
I'm curious because the 2 of you got together, played a while, obviously, as a duo, and then brought Michael on board. And it's really sort of changed the dynamics in a sense because now you've got a permanent drummer and a percussionist. Michael, from your perspective, when you would join this band, what was your reaction to being with these beautiful girls and on top of it playing this kind of music?
It was definitely a really cool feeling to be able to play with musicians of that caliber, but then also I was a fan of the band before I joined. And so I knew all their music. I'd listened to it on my way back from my old busing job at a bar I used to work at, and all these things. So I was a huge fan, and then I kind of became friends with them. And then when I was able to join the band, it was all the little parts that I wanted to put in on the songs, when I would listen to it by myself, I could now do. And I could kind of have my fun with it. And it was also just really great to be able to play with people who were themselves fantastic musicians. And so, yeah.
Now, I'm curious, you're from Michigan as well, but from the Detroit area, is that right?
Yeah, the Metro Detroit area. I grew up in Northville, Michigan.
Okay, and so the 3 of you, now Savannah, I'm curious, from your perspective, you guys are from up north, he came in from another sort of perspective, I guess. How has this sort of changed, in your view, what's happened with the band and the way in which you guys perform what you do and maybe the way you write?
Well, I think we've always been evolving from the very start. We're a totally different band than what we used to be. And having Michael along for the ride is fantastic as the dynamic of the group and as having ideas to change around the way that we play. I mean, now that we have Michael, I feel like we're able to lean back more on a rhythm section and be able to just relax and improv, which is really cool. And he's also throwing out different ideas for new originals that we come up with and work on together. So that's been a really fantastic experience, just having another person to bounce ideas off of. And he's like the happy medium between Katie and I. So it works out really well.
And he plays guitar as well as drums. I've seen him do that at gigs where he's playing both, as a matter of fact.
That happened today.
So how many instruments do the 3 of you play between you?
Between the 3 of us, probably around 13, but you can only bring so many around in a band, so.
That's just sort of mind-blowing when you consider the fact that the age and everything else and and I think that's kind of what has made the phenomenon of the Accidentals what it is. How do you explain the attraction and the appeal that the Accidentals have with audiences who seem to embrace you everywhere you go?
I'm still surprised, actually. I'm like, when people come up to us and they're like, wow, I really enjoyed the show. I was like, yes, thank goodness. I was so nervous. But, we're really lucky. Honestly, we just make music that, that we enjoy making. And, Savannah writes a lot of, story-inspired songs. Before we started the band, she was an author, and she still writes novels. And so she just comes up with, really interesting ideas and really influenced by the things we see and the things we hear. So, we kind of take music from everywhere. And I think that means that everyone can kind of understand, where we're coming from.
And what have you learned from playing all the shows that you've played over the last couple of years? And how many shows have you actually played over the last year, do you think?
Statistically speaking, we've probably played around 702 years, or 3 years. 3 years' time. And we're coming up on our 4th year of being a band.
That's crazy. So obviously there's ups and downs when you're on the road, but what has been the learning experience for the three of you in terms of being on the road together and really sort of maybe learning and maybe advancing in terms of your musical skills and your chops and playing in front of an audience?
Yeah, it's a huge learning process. Obviously, just learning to be on the road is something we've been dealing with on the West Coast tour, which was really exciting for us to be, playing shows every night. For a while, I was in high school. I graduated last spring, and so we would only be able to travel, in little amounts of time, like on the weekends or on the breaks. And so we never really had that experience of, hydrating yourself, like eating good food, making sure you're in shape so you don't like fizzle out on the road. And that was a good experience for sure. And we try to practice and rehearse and keep ourselves fresh.
The people we meet in the road too, that's kind of what helps us musically. I mean, there's always something to learn from everybody. And, as we all know, the Michigan music community is ridiculously amazing in helping support musicians, and musicians help support each other.
We did. We got a lot of advice from other bands. We feel like the little sisters of a lot of the Michigan bands, and they kind of like took care of us, and they're like, you should really do this, and, kind of make sure you do this. And we have really great families, too, who, without them, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. Savannah's dad's here in the audience. He drove us here, and he's helped, get us water and fix the strings. And so
Dad and Mom are the roadies. That help. All right, let's hear some music. You guys got a couple songs to start out with. What are you going to play for us to start off?
We're going to go ahead and play a song that we just re-recorded with Marshall and Stuart. It's called The Silence.
Stars at a fire and played our new guitars, and I wondered how long this was gonna last. Because picture perfect memories just come with all those tougher things, and pain's the best reminder of our past. I watch meteors fall on a world that hardly cared at all, leaving silver trails of dust across the sky. Of indigo blue, match my mood in with constellations for tattoos, and I watch them fade away and quickly die. So many theories wrong and soon disproved, so many ideas lost among the few, so many conversations that are sadly misconstrued and lost among debate and needless violence. We need the silence. Place with tattered walls and empty space, and a musty smell that drenching nighttime air. And neither of us said a word, and we waited till we heard the birds and realized how once had we ever been scared. So many theories wrong and soon disproved, so many ideas lost among the few, so many conversations that are sadly misconstrued and lost among debate and needless violence. We need the silence. grandpa's mind fly away and leave some bits behind that made him smile with each time that they appeared. I wonder if he feels the pain. It seems he never will complain whenever his whole family is near. So many theories wrong and some disproved. So many ideas lost among the few. So many conversations that are sadly misconstrued and lost among the pain and leave with silence. We need the silence.
We'll let them switch instruments and play song number 2.
This one's called The Sound a Watch Makes When Enveloped in Cotton.
A long title.
Yeah. Whew. It's a long one. And this song, the song title is actually, it's just a random sentence out of a random short story from a random book on my bookshelf. And we always like throw it out to the audience too at shows. We'll say, do you guys recognize this random sentence? And I swear every single time someone recognizes it. It's impressive. But here's the song.
We go, The Sound a Watch Makes When
The
Enveloped
song
in
is
Cotton.
for you.
Outside, well, everything is so cold. Eyes, you're turning your eye to gold.
Well, it all had been so fast. A blue light cotton transit on the nightstand, gonna sand it. Hot bed and the cold sheets felt like sleeping on the concrete. Brain freeze and your blood's hot. You got one shot and you cold, cold, cold. Godspeed to the saviors, couldn't save yours. And she's gone, and it all had been so fast. A blue night on the down low, your heart's a black hole and an elegant radio. All you hear is the white noise, cuts and destroys. Flashes back.
save this question until later, but I have to say that the difference in the styles of those two songs brings this up in my mind. Why does each of you go through and name who your favorite artist is, or who your most influential artist was, growing up or as a musician?
Yeah, because I'm probably the most decided. My favorite band is Death Cab for Cutie.
Who you saw last night?
Yes. We all went down to the Fox Theater in Detroit and saw them last night. It was my third time seeing them, and it was their first time.
Savannah's really jealous. She's doing the pout. Okay,
What about you?
I'll go. I don't know, Savannah. We've been listening to a ton of music when I was probably in my early teens, like 12 or 13, when your music taste is kind of like forming. I was listening to like anti-folk artists. I was listening to like Kimya Dawson, basically anyone off of like the Juno movie soundtrack I listened to. And at the same time, I was getting really into like the White Stripes, Jack White, and that kind of rock. So it's kind of like both sides, like the folk and then the rock.
Yeah. Well, I had about the same experience going on there. I actually really grew up listening to Andrew Bird, and that was like, he's a violinist out of Chicago, and he basically does all this looping and insane crazy stuff. So I got really into Andrew Bird, and that's why I chose to play violin. But I've also been like a huge fan of the Foo Fighters and of Radiohead for like as long as I can remember. So it's folk and rock, I would say, is a good mixture. It's a good way to put it.
How did your training at Interlochen affect the way in which you either embraced new musical styles or learned perhaps some new skills that really helped you in this band?
We took tons of classes. I know I took a jazz improv class, and I took a string improv class for my cello. And so I was introduced to like gypsy jazz and Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli, and that was pretty much a totally new genre to me. And we have tons of bands in Michigan, like the Appleseed Collective, who does that kind of genre.
Right.
And so I was trying to like learn how to get inside of it. And there's a lot of complex chord structures in, all kinds of jazz and all kinds of music. So I was getting introduced to that and how to play it on my cello, which was kind of a new thing. Playing and improvising on my classical instrument, which I had previously been taking private lessons and learning my scales and everything. So I was kind of learning to branch out, I think, and
Sure.
learning to experiment with songwriting, which I had never, we were part of the first songwriting class at Interlochen Arts Academy. And before that, Savannah and I had been just doing some songwriting on our own. And it was the first time someone had actually told us, kind of like the structure behind songwriting, how it's a lot. We took poetry classes and we worked on vocal techniques. We kind of like delved into the art a little bit, and it just kind of made us look differently at how a song is put together.
And Michael, you didn't attend Interlochen, or how did you meet these girls, and what was your training?
I met the girls at a Michigan music festival called Bliss Fest back in 2013, I think. Yeah, I saw them play a couple of their sets up there. I fell in love with the band, became friends, and then I attended Northville High School, kind of in between Detroit and Ann Arbor, and for a year I went down to Belmont University in Nashville and did some audio engineering. That was what I was going to be studying down there, and then they stole me away to go on the road halfway through that. So,
Which sort of brings me to the next question, and that is, Savannah and Katie, you guys have interrupted your potential college education to go on the road and be in this band. In fact, I understand that both of you guys were accepted at the prestigious Berklee College of Music in Boston. And so tell us a little bit about that thought process and what how that affects maybe your relationship with your parents. I keep thinking the first thing is, they're not going to college.
Wow. Actually, Katie wasn't just accepted to Berklee. She had a 4-year scholarship, so a presidential scholarship, which is not often that people are offered that. So that was probably especially hard for her to turn down. But at the same time, we were beginning to start negotiations with Marshall Crenshaw. So we were deciding between, learning things in college that we could just enact on by going on the road when we had the opportunity to do that. So I think that was really what led to our decision making to pursue this career in music, is that we had the time for it and we can always go back to school. And that was really hard for us though, because Katie and I, we graduated from high school with 3.9 GPAs, so close. And school has always been incredibly important to us. In our entire lives, we pretty much were telling ourselves that we were going to go to college immediately after we graduated. And then when we got around to that point, our parents kind of took a good long look at us and were like, you know what? I think that, you guys have this opportunity going for you, and we're going to support you for as long as we possibly can. So that's a really amazing thing to have, or parents who understand, the options that you have and are willing to help you with your decision making and that. Because we're only 19, so we don't really know, how the world works yet. But I think going on the road is going to teach us that a little bit, and then we can go back to school when we're ready.
Let's hear why it is that you put off college. What's the next song?
This is one of our new songs we haven't recorded yet. It's called Parking Lot.
Get me out of this parking lot. Get me out. 19, so mean, lips that sting like honey frosting. She's got an icy disposition. She looked back, told me she was smoking carbon black. I said, I'll see you in the green room. I laid to get me back on the track that I'm banking on. If I unwind, I might just fall apart. I might just fall for this place. Get me out of this parking lot. Get me out. Astray, no pay, a voice like Marvin Gaye. He's kicking pebbles on his gravestone. He looked up and he prayed that I would fill his cup. I don't get paid until next Tuesday. I laid to get me back on the track that I'm banking on. If I unwind, I might just fall apart. I might just fall for this place. Get me out of this parking lot. Get me out.
A little bit of a punk quality to that. And this is going to be a song that will appear on your next album that's being recorded in New York City. Tell the folks here where that album stands and what it's been like recording with someone like Stuart Lerman and with Marshall Crenshaw.
It's really great. We've actually been working with Marshall and Stuart for about a year now. And obviously, we're really big fans of the work that Stuart has done and Marshall. Stuart's done, he's done recording projects for like St. Vincent and
Sharon Von Etten as
yes,
well.
that's the name I was trying to think of. I love Sharon Von Etten. And TV shows like Boardwalk Empire and a lot of Wes Anderson movies. And we're also interested in doing film projects like scoring for movies. And so we're like really excited to be, meeting those people and working with them. And the problem is we have so many songs. We're like not sure what to record. And we're like, we love them all. Let's do them all. So we've been just going crazy in the studio, adding string parts. Sneak peek, Stuart brought in a horn player last time we were there, so we added some trumpet tracks, and we've just been having a really good time, like seeing what all we can do with this next album.
We've recorded 8 tracks so far out in New York, so we're currently trying to figure out, based off of our hectic schedule and their hectic schedules, when we can get back into the studio to finish up the album, but we're hoping it's released sometime this year.
So before the end of the year, hopefully we'll be able to hear something. I want to hear from the audience, so I'm going to pass the microphone down to someone, see what you guys want to ask this band, because clearly there's a lot going on with the Accidentals these days. So,
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
So that
Jeff.
West Coast tour was just a blast, I'm guessing. South by Southwest, can you kind of share some of that experience with us? That'd be great.
Yeah, it was South by Southwest was unlike anything we've ever done. It felt more like a conference than a festival, because there were filmmakers there. There was a whole film section. There were panels, like songwriting panels. There were all sorts of conferences and gear expos and art expos and performances and showcases. And we had a hard enough time figuring out where we were supposed to be every day and playing our songs. And there was so much going on that we could go back a million times and still not catch everything. But it was really fun.
We played 12 showcases in 5 days, so that was a little hectic. We didn't really have time for everything, but we were able to catch a couple of different performances and, check out some cool panels. Marshall actually did a panel out there at South by, so we were able to catch that and kind of get the inside look at some of the stuff he's working on outside of what we're doing. So that was really cool. But overall, there were good parts, there were bad parts, and it's just an insane convention, but we had a lot of fun overall.
Oh yeah, it was just because we are all under the age of 21 in this band, and so trying to get into shows down at South by Southwest was a little difficult. Even though we had the artist bracelets, we were trying to see. I think it was a band called Rubble Bucket. Yeah. And we waited in the line. We got all the way up. They stamped our hands, and then right at the door, the guy was like, "IDs, please." We were like no. So yeah, that was a hiccup. But hopefully next time we go back, if we go back, I'd love to go back. We will all be 21 and thus can see all the shows that we want to.
Mm-hmm.
Playing so many shows and being on the road so much, is it difficult to find time to write new songs?
Yeah, that's been a thing. I actually wrote 3 songs when I came home from tour, just because it's just so hard to find like kind of solitary time with a guitar that's not in the same room as everybody else, especially when you're on the road. I mean, we tend to stay at a lot of people's houses and in hotel rooms, so it's really hard to not invade other people's space. And so yeah, writing has been something that's kind of been on hold, but I know that I don't know, when we're cruising down the highway, it's cool to write down a couple of lines that come to your mind. There's so much scenery out there. I mean, literally we saw mountains and oceans and huge plains of grass and then huge deserts. I mean, we saw everything. So there was so much inspiration to take away from that. But yeah.
In discussions that I had with your parents over the weekend, this whole business about not being 21, I think a lot of people maybe don't understand how difficult that can be for a band on the road, because you guys are playing a lot of clubs that are 21 and older, a lot of breweries. How difficult has that been at times, and what have been some of the experiences you guys have had because you guys are not yet 21?
Well, just in California, we've never had a gig like this, but they have a really strict policy that if you're under 21, you have to load in your gear and then wait outside the building until your set time, and then you can go inside, play your set with a guardian or with someone with you. And then as soon as you're done playing, you have to leave. You can't stick around. You have to take all your stuff and then go back outside
and hang out in the parking lot.
Yeah, in the parking lot. Yeah. Get me out of this parking lot.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting trial.
So, Michael.
Yes.
I think that the way you have the stripped down kit is really cool. Did you like come up with this with the cajones and the brushes, or did you figure it out from someone else? And my drummer completely stole your kit. He loves it. It's great.
This kit came out of necessity. It was kind of this is the larger incarnation of it. When I played my first shows with the band, the first show was on Mackinac Island. That was kind of cool. I got to audition on Mackinac Island, but we couldn't take over a full drum set because we had to carry everything, and there was the ferry, and then you walk there's no cars, and so I just took over the cajon and a little cymbal, and Mike Shimon, who plays with a lot of other bands around town like Seth and May, had turned me onto these sticks about a week before, so I ordered them. And I thought they were really cool, and I just happened to bring them along, and they started working out really well to play on a cajon. And then once we came back to the mainland, we kind of expanded the kit. I added a bass drum and a hi-hat and a few other things, and so, yeah, it just has kind of been built out of necessity.
It is the nicest thing to put in the car. Oh, my gosh. It doesn't take up
we're
any
lucky.
room at all. So nice.
Anybody else? All right.
You have described yourselves as socially awkward.
Yes, that's true.
I want to know what it's like with you've been getting so much attention, and has it changed that about you? And also, have you gotten spoiled at all from attention?
No, I personally, I hate the attention. I feel nervous enough in here that, everyone, there are cameras, there's recording, and there's people. So those are three things that make me nervous. But no, it's challenged us in a good way, I think, for sure. And I love talking to people after the show. Now we have really great opportunities at, house concerts, especially. People just want to come up and talk to us. And after we play a whole set, my adrenaline's been rushing, and I feel really happy to connect to people. And that's an opportunity that I never had before the band when I was, playing songs in my room alone.
That really doesn't make us any less awkward, though. I feel like once you're born feeling awkward, you'll always feel awkward. But it's been cool to talk to people and realize that everybody kind of feels like that a lot. Social etiquette is hard, but we all tend to relate to people, and I think music is the best way to be able to channel that and to express it to people. I think that we're able to relate to people without even saying hey, even having a conversation. Music speaks for itself, which is really, really nice.
Well, let's let the music speak. What are your next two songs?
Here's a song we just recorded with Marshall. It's called Stitches and Seams. Sometimes it's so heavy, it sinks like a stone into the pocket of my ragged coat. And just as in life, I walk outside alone to the place where the trees are 500 years old. I'm critical, cynical, say what I mean. I'll find the gray underneath all the green, 'cause it thrives in the salt of the earth just between the lives of the hopeful and stitches and seams. If I can't speak my mind, then what can I leave behind? One fingerprint cannot survive in the dust. The strongest inventions will all turn to rust. The wisest intentions can't live without trust. If life is a story, what's out there waiting for us? Sometimes it's so bright that it burns up the dark. The state of the world and the state of your heart. You fight your whole life, yet it tears you apart. But wildfires are born from the tiniest spark. If I can't speak my mind, then what can I leave behind?
One fingerprints cannot survive in the dust. The strongest inventions will all turn to rust. The wisest intentions can't live without trust. If life is a story, what's out there waiting for us? I can't speak my mind, then what can I leave behind? One fingerprint cannot survive in the dust. The strongest inventions will all turn to rust. The wisest intentions can't live without trust. If life is a story, what's out there waiting for us?
I think we're going to get to see the Michael doing two things at once thing now.
Here we go.
Michael doing three things at once. He's singing and he's playing guitar and he's playing drums, because why not? Also, he does really great voice impressions.
If I had been born in a different era, I would have loved to be the Sears Roebuck guy from the 50s who was just like, come buy your stuff at Sears Roebucks.
Wait, Michael, can you do Marge Simpson real quick? Just a little bit.
Only if your dad does Homer back to me.
Oh, can you give him the microphone? Oh, you guys gotta see this.
Come on, homie. You can do it.
They do this in the car for like hours.
Yep.
But anyway, here's Nightlife.
Yep. Here's another new one for you guys.
Where the power came from, and when it would go out, what would we do when it got dark? Hold candles to our doubts. On the first day of school, you stopped holding my hand. The day the streets opened wide, stole my letters, talked you out and inside. But you love the nightlife, always a new shade of blue. This is a reject night, it never seemed to suit you. Whoa. Questions too, with eyes like candles on the wall, a flash of cobalt blue. He wasn't quite like you until he ran away. Well, I left my coat by the stairs, you didn't notice, I had nothing to say. But you love the nightlife, always a new shade of blue. There's just some jackknife.
do for you? What is it to do for you? I would have carved these brittle bones if you'd asked me to. But you left the night light. Always a new shade of blue. This is summer Jack night. It never seemed to suit you. Oh, you left the nightlife. Oh, you left the nightlife. Oh, you left the nightlife. Ooh, will it ever love you?
So you've hinted at this, but I want to explore this just a tad further, and that is that Michigan's music scene is incredible and vibrant, and you have become representatives of that music scene across the country because of the attention you've gotten. How does that make you feel, and what is your description of what's happening here in West Michigan and Northern Michigan with music?
Well, we're honored to be alongside other musicians in this area. I mean, everybody who's a musician in Michigan so far has just been an amazing person as well as a musician. It's just been amazing to be around that. We're really proud of people like Josh Davis who have kind of taken the first initiative to put Michigan on the map, so to speak. Right now, he's a contestant on a popular TV show called The Voice, and the stress of that show is probably, monstrous, but he's really introduced other songwriters who are alongside of him right now to Michigan music, such as May Earlwine, whose song was just featured on that show. So, we're really proud of people like that, and we're going to do everything we can to support them.
Josh he's one of those people, like lots of Michigan artists. He actually gave like songwriting workshops to us when we were in school. We did jam sessions at like Shorts Brewery where, he'd be like, okay, now you play a song and then I'll jam in your song and then this is how you jam my song. And so, we've had tons of people like that. But it's also, not just the musicians, but the people who want to see live music and experience just the music part, that's huge. And the venues who are like popping up everywhere to support that.
The joke is that you can tell when you're back in Michigan. You just can, just by the people who show up at the show. It's just, after a 50-day tour, we were completely exhausted. And we came home on our last day of tour was Shorts Brewing Company's anniversary party. And there were 3,500 people there. And it was insane. I mean, it was just, we saw like all our old friends again, people who we've met through this band. It was just an amazing event. So, and it feels like every Michigan show that we've ever played has been like that, where it's just, there's people we know and people we've met who are just incredibly supportive of music. So,
all of our
really
fans
lucky.
have really kind of like turned into family for us. I mean, we know so many of you guys here right now. I mean, it really does. It's like a family type atmosphere.
So what's the 1 year or 5 year plan for the Accidentals?
Well, we signed a 4-album production agreement with Marshall. So we're, we have so many, we could probably do all the albums right now this year, but we'll probably spread it out over the next few years. We've had some amazing things happen. We're in this big transitional point where we have a lawyer in Detroit, Howard Hertz, and just got signed with a Ann Arbor booking agency called Fleming Artists. And, we're looking at, management and labels, and those are kind of the last pieces that will, kind of get us on these bigger tours, more touring, more performing, more records. And that's kind of how it'll go for the next couple years, I think.
We'll really go with the flow, though. I mean, whatever happens, we all have kind of backup plans. Michael wants to set up his own studio in the future called Argyle Studios, based off of the adorably named street that he lives on. And Katie wants to kind of like do really cool new worldwide things, like kind of farm in Spain and build houses in Haiti, and that's super cool stuff. And then I eventually kind of want to go into the science field and do physics and biology and stuff like that. So we all kind of have different passions and different interests, but we're really excited about the turn that our music has taken. So we just kind of want to go with that for as long as we possibly can. And as long as we have the support from everybody, which we've had unending amounts of, then we're just going to keep going with the flow.
Well, thank you so much for being part of this Local Spins Live at River City Studios series. And for all of you who are here, thank you for being part of this as well. Once again, once this is all done, you'll be able to see this podcast, the video, and everything at localspins.com. Once again, we're very happy that the Accidentals are here. What are you going to take us out with tonight?
Thanks for having us, by the way. We're going to play one final song. This one is a song inspired by one of the tunes we played in orchestra together. It's Bartok's Romanian Folk Dances.
First movement.
First movement. We put the melody into our own song that we call Requiem for a Lark.
At night through a town I've been to once before, and through the air down Leicester Square I heard two figures standing there, dusty bows and fingers drawing sound. And I heard a song that stayed with me. Recognize a couple singing songs in the same. It sounded sweet, it sounded dark, a requiem for a lark, endangered and embedded in my brain. And I heard a song that stayed with me. A song that stays with me. I heard a song that stayed with me.
Thank you once again, the Accidentals.